In this episode, I chat with Jordan West, the founder of upGrowth Commerce, an e-commerce investor, and the host of the Secrets of Scaling Your E-commerce Brand podcast. As a fellow mountain biker, the conversation kicks off with some fun as Jordan recounts a recent mountain biking adventure in Cumberland, a mountain biking hotspot he recently explored. But the focus quickly shifts to the big issue shaping e-commerce today. Jordan shares why upGrowth Commerce is laser-focused on social commerce, including platforms like TikTok Shop, and how these are becoming essential for brands looking to connect with customers in a more authentic, engaging ways. Jordan talks about the importance of founder-led growth and why authentic connections can be a real game-changer in a market that's getting more competitive by the day. We also get into why some big brands are dragging their feet on social commerce, while smaller, more nimble players are jumping in and seeing huge benefits. Jordan explains how upGrowth Commerce helps brands navigate this new terrain, using tools and strategies to maximize the halo effect, where success in one channel boosts performance across others. From exploring effective marketing strategies to the future of social commerce, this episode offers plenty of real-world insights and straightforward advice. If you're looking to stay ahead in the world of e-commerce, you'll find plenty to think about in this conversation. Welcome to the Ecom Pulse, your heartbeat to the world of e-commerce. I'm your host, Eitan Koter. Join us as we meet with industry leaders, marketing experts, and the innovative minds behind the tech that is shaping the e-commerce future. So plug in, gear up, and get ready for a pulse-pounding journey into the heart of e-commerce. Hey Jordan, welcome. How are you?
Eitan, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. I've got coffee because it's my morning. You know, I'm pretty sure your evening.
Yes.
So I'm doing good. I'm doing good. This is what I live for, is just having conversations like this. I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. I'm just starting my second shift now, so had my coffee as well. So we're good. We're good.
Very good.
So as a fellow mountain biker, tell us some stories from your latest ride. I mean, this is where we need to start right now.
That sounds great. Well, so I did just come off of going to what I didn't really realize was like this world-class mountain biking mecca called Cumberland. And people had talked about it for ages, but because it's so close to me, I just didn't really realize like the amount of people that didn't speak English that were on the trails. I was like, oh, wow. This is like people come from all over the world to do Whistler and Cumberland. And Whistler is more like the park, right? Which I go to all the time. Cumberland, you got to pedal up. So I'll tell you though, I enjoyed Cumberland more than I enjoy my Whistler days because of the struggle. I just love the pedal up. And it was about a 10-kilometer pedal up, and it was perfect. And then just a roller coaster on the way down. And I got to say, it was the best. I only crashed once. It's great.
Okay, you look good. You look good, smiling. So that's the most important thing.
Exhausted though. Exhausted. I wish I had that watch like the Garmin that tells you like how long you're supposed to recover for.
Yes.
I just have the Apple Watch and it doesn't really have that feature. I'm like, I want to know how long do I have an excuse to not exercise for? Like,
yeah. But there's not an excuse for podcasting, right? I mean, we can always
do this. I'm sitting. It's good.
Yeah. You're also hosting one of the top 50 podcasts in e-commerce, right? Secrets of Scaling Your E-commerce Brand. So well done on that.
Yeah, thanks. There's been so much growth over the years in that space. And it's funny, my mentor, one of the things that he's taught me over the years is he doesn't bet on anybody who makes a goal of a lagging goal, right? So like being top 50 or being top whatever it is, or like losing weight, right? He's like, I wouldn't bet on you if you said you're going to lose 20 pounds. He said, but I would bet on you if you said you're going to do, let's go back to podcasting. If you're going to do 3 episodes every single week for 5 years, it's like, I'd bet on you because you're just going to get better and better and better. Yeah. And that's what I've done. So it's just like, we're at like 600 episodes, and last month we had 200,000 downloads. I'm like, wow. Where are these coming from? Where are these people coming from? But I'll tell you, it's been incredible for, if anyone out there is thinking of starting a podcast, it is the secret hack of how to get influence, and it's not just that, right? It's having these conversations with incredibly smart people, in-depth conversations, and then you're connecting and you're networking, and like Eitan and I will be friends after this, right? Like we wouldn't have if not. right? If it would have just been a random LinkedIn message, we wouldn't have. And that's where podcasting gets you. I cannot recommend it enough.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, so 600 episodes, it's crazy. I remember, so I've started in November last year, and I think we're now recording our 110th episode or so. And I read, how to start a podcast and how to launch a company. It was really recommended to do 3 episodes and then publish them, right, to one of the RSS
That's right.
services. And I said, wow, 3 episodes. How can I do 3 episodes? It was like a huge milestone, right? From 0 to 3. Yeah. And then I did a 3 episode, and then you read all the statistics, right? That, 50 episodes is like 90% of the people stop after even 10 episodes. Okay, my next milestone, 10 episodes. And then 1,500. So, I mean, it's nice. I mean, we publish like almost 3 episodes a week. It's amazing. As you said, that like you get free consulting almost, in every episode. You build a relationship, expanding your network and your community. I mean, the benefits are really huge, right? For us, it's for Vimy, for the company, it's one of the major marketing vehicles as a whole, for our company.
Totally. So, and then you have listeners on top of that, right? Like, people think like, oh, start a podcast for the listeners. I always think like, oh, that's a bit of a bonus. The fact like, oh yeah, you also have listeners, these people that like really trust you because it's the most authentic way that you can show up. Right? Like, I really do believe that in the future, what we're going to see is the brands that win, right? The brands and the companies that win have authentic founders, CEOs, people that are out there building in public, being themselves, because people want human connection, right? The more that AI comes into the world, and I love AI. I think AI is like the things that we're doing with AI are just far and away. It's incredible. I can't imagine going back a couple of years now. But what it's doing is it's trying to replace humans in certain ways that I don't think it can yet. I think it's going to get there. Absolutely. Like, no doubt. Yeah. But it can't yet. And so we need to really lean into those human aspects. And podcasting like this, conversations like this, do that, right? Like that's the amazing thing.
Yeah. And for me, I always ask for fun facts for my guests, just to prove to our audience that we are not a podcast that is runs by a bot or something, right? And we started this episode with a fun fact, so great. So we talked about mountain biking. So this is like real people, social creatures, right? Sharing some good experiences. It's always great. So Jordan, we've been speaking for quite a while, and I see just your LinkedIn, and somewhere I stopped. I mean, you have an agency, you invest in e-commerce, you have experience in so many different aspects of e-commerce and retail. Why don't you give us a quick update about who you are, some of your background, and what do you do these days?
Sure. Yeah, so I've been in e-com for almost 10 years now. So at one point we owned 6 brands at once. That was I wouldn't call that fun. Like I look back on that and I'm like, oh, that was good. That was a thing that we did. A couple of them, we scaled. We've had, a couple exits. We've had a couple bankruptcies in amongst that. We've throughout that also had the agency. I've had the podcast, done a lot with the newsletter and all of that. And throughout everything, what I've realized is that e-commerce is really, really fun and really, really hard all at the same time. And I love it. I think that it's my favorite part of business that I have done is in here. I've been doing a lot of consulting with SaaS and brands, more like early stage SaaS, like kind of seed to Series A. And I will tell you, it is a different. I'm chatting with a founder right now. Consulting with a founder right now, and he took his last company public, and it was based on Salesforce, and he knew the playbook. It was totally great, and obviously he doesn't need to do another company. He's fine. He went public. Yay. And he realized how empty his life was. And he was just like, okay, like I love work. I love doing this. So he decided I'm going to build in the Shopify ecosystem. And he didn't realize the difference in the Shopify ecosystem. He's like, I'm talking to like a $25 million company, assuming that they have a big marketing team, assuming that they have all this stuff. And he's like, they've got one marketing guy. Like, I didn't know that that's what I was stepping into here. Yeah. And it's just some interesting things in e-commerce that you don't really realize until you get in here and realize how small everyone really is based on their GMV. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you go and you see companies launching. I think launching a new company or launching a new product line or brand is probably different than what it used to be 3-4 years ago, even, right? And definitely post-pandemic, I mean, acquisition is becoming more challenging and more difficult. And we've been discussing, prior to this recording about how to scale businesses today, how to do marketing in a very efficient way. What are some of the channels that are working? And you mentioned TikTok Shop and some of the video aspects of things. So what are your thoughts on marketing channels these days?
Yeah, so I mean, I am all in on not just TikTok Shop. So TikTok Shop is just a representation of social commerce, right? I am all in on social commerce. I think, thank you, TikTok, for bringing over all of your experience of live shopping from China finally into North America, right? Like we knew it was going to happen at some point. I mean, it's not like QVC has been a thing forever. In Canada, we've had the shopping network and people love it. And
still growing.
It just hit, what's that?
It's still growing on the traditional TV. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And TikTok had to come in with TikTok Shop and finally crack that, right? And I'm not just talking about live shopping, but like I think what we're talking about still is this thing of authenticity with brands. Right? There's a reason why TikTok Shop is doing so well, specifically on the live shopping side, right? When you look at GMV and where it's coming from right now, a ton of it is coming from live shopping. Now, a ton of it is also coming from ads, which people I don't think realize when they go over to TikTok Shop. It's like, hey, just so you know, you're also going to have to run a ton of ads. Now, we're working with some massive brands, like billions upon billions of dollars brands. They're having a really hard time convincing their teams to go all in on TikTok Shop or even to dip their toes in, right? Because the problem is TikTok Shop started with a bunch of junk, right? It started with like a bunch of Temu, just garbage that people were trying to post out there with it. And so these big brands look and they're like, I don't know, like a buddy of mine and somebody I'm sure a lot of people follow, Paul, he owns a brand called BK Beauty. And Paul's done incredible. It was last October, I believe, when he really launched into TikTok Shop. And he is doing massive amounts of GMV. There's this chart that he showed where it's like the TikTok Shop effect. It's like, yeah, everything's going good. It's like a $5 million brand. And then like TikTok Shop comes and boom. And it's the halo effect across everything. Right? It's not just TikTok. It's not just TikTok Shop. It's the halo across Amazon. It's across the Shopify. It's across all of these channels. And yet, none of the big players, or not a lot of the big players in beauty still, are on TikTok Shop. Like, what? Why? I mean, they are busy, whatever they do, right? They try to probably accelerate performances, profitabilities on various channels. No time for probably innovate and test new things. And I think what I hear a lot is that how complex it is to open a TikTok Shop, and then you need to create all these affiliate connections, influencers, try to create content. It's quite of a kind of an expertise, right? That this is where agency comes into place, right? So I think there's definitely a huge opportunity. I mean, we know I have all this data here from TikTok. Okay, so they're aiming, like this year, 2034, to hit $17.5 billion in sales in the US, right? And this is like probably growing almost tenfold, right, from last year. Most of the TikTok, it's massive. Most of the TikTok users in the world, are in the US, right? But in terms of TikTok shops, actually, plenty of growth there. And they are doing the fulfillment these days. You can get a full fulfilled by TikTok type of experience, and it's really, it started as an entertainment platform, then moved to a search platform, and now it's a shopping platform. And yeah, live shopping is so important, and shoppable video is important, and all those influencers relationship that you can actually source within the TikTok environment, right? It makes a huge opportunity, right? Totally.
Yeah.
So what I'm excited about is Q3, Q4 Meta copying them, right? Yeah. So I've got a friend who's got a friend who reports to the C-suite at Meta, and he's like, hey, don't tell anyone, but looks like they're going to be doing the replica of what TikTok Shop has done in Q3, Q4. And I'm like, oh, you can bet I'm not going to tell anyone. No, I'm going to tell everyone, because it is, and it doesn't really matter because no one's really even hopped on TikTok Shop as far as like in a huge sort of way, right? People are waiting. And I think I would I would counter what you said before about it being a timing thing. I think that people in bigger companies are very risk averse, right? They're not incentivized to take big swings.
Exactly.
Right?
This exactly
they just
what
aren't.
I meant.
They're like, nah, it's okay. So let's talk about this $1 billion shoe brand that we're working with right now. Their launch on TikTok Shop so far is astronomical, right? It's astronomical because people already know them. People want to buy their product, and they're just making it way easier, right? It's not rocket science, but it is different than what we were talking about before and what people have thought TikTok Shop is all about, right? It's not about just setting up and going and getting affiliates. It's about actually getting a lot of GMV on your store first to become the person that everyone else wants to reach out to, right? So that when you put out an open collab, right? An open collab is essentially just you putting that out there saying, hey, we're willing to send samples for videos, right? And then you approve them or not. Now, when Paul does this, he gets 6,000 people applying to work with him. And so now he can just go through and pick, be like, you're good, you're good, you're good. Versus the way that most brands are doing it is like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to just reach out to every single affiliate using a bot, right? Just remember that's red ocean now. I always am looking blue ocean, red ocean, right? It became a red ocean very fast with the bots that are out there. And I think most tactical sort of things become red ocean incredibly fast in this day and age versus these bigger strategic initiatives, right? And that's what I'm always looking at is like, where's the principle behind this? And the principle is, lo and behold, the same as it's been for hundreds of years, right? And it's about influence. It's about trying to be the person that wants to get reached out to versus the one that's doing the reaching out, right? It's about that. And so that's what I'm looking at when it comes to this. And just go back to marketing principles, right? You don't need to read the newest marketing books. Though I would argue with that and say that I think that Hormozi has done an incredible job and I wish he looked different because I think people discount the way that he looks. Yeah. And are like, oh, he's just some meathead. And it's like, actually, he's probably one of the most brilliant business guys of our time. Yeah. And so for him, like $100 million leads, I wish it was, again, named something a little bit more timeless because we're going to have such inflation that 100 million is going to be like, what's the big deal? Right. But that is, to me, a timeless book on how to get a hold of people, how to really build a business. I've used it time and time again. I've been starting this little consulting thing on the side. And I'll tell you, all I did was just use method 1 from $100 million leads. And I got 8 clients in a week. Wow. Right. And it wasn't very hard. And I was like, this is so great. Another business. Okay. What do we do with this? I got to make sure to take me out of this somehow. Yeah.
I'm the marketing guy. I need to execute. I need to write the statement of work. I need to send a proposal. I need to make the collection, right? So, okay, we need to build a company around that. Yeah, I mean, we just published in the latest newsletter about Stormy Steele, right, from Canvas Beauty. I mean, she drove like $1 million of sales on TikTok in like 5-6 hours, right? Which is like crazy. So I think we are getting to much more interesting milestones in terms of shoppable content, definitely live. I really like a lot what you just mentioned previously about founder-led content, right? And founder-led growth, right? So how do you differentiate these days with definitely those Gen Zs coming into becoming more and more of a shopping powers? How do you suggest for brands? What do you see working in terms of differentiation? What I see is brands just researching their origin, finding their moats, right? What differentiates them from the others. Less copying. Okay, my competition did right now whatever influencer used it influencer for TikTok. Let's do the same, or let's advertise whatever they did. So less copying, more trying to find the authentic aspects of things. And you mentioned founder-led content and differentiation. And what are your thoughts on that? Because I believe this is a true differentiation and opportunity for brands.
So I want to do the counter argument quickly to that, right? And the counter is that people would say, well, if you're going to do founder-led growth, you're not going to have a company that you can exit, right? And they would say that. And I'd say, well, how many companies that are built out there exit, right? How many people are building towards an exit versus a cash machine, right? Like I want to build and acquire and be a part of cash machines rather than these unicorn use cases that hardly ever happen. And also, just FYI, when they do happen, people are miserable anyway. Right? It does not matter. I listened to Andrew Wilkinson, who he's actually a local guy to me here in Victoria. And Andrew owns a company called Tiny. And Tiny went public, and Andrew's a billionaire. And you know what? He's just as depressed and just as whatever, and has all the same things going on in his head and all the same relational issues, if not more, being a billionaire than he did before.
Much more responsibilities, right? And headaches. I mean, how to preserve the wealth. Yeah.
Totally. And then you have kids and you're like, well, what do I do for my kids? Right. We all know, like, I grew up in a, I grew up actually poor. My dad was a pastor. We had like no money. And, but I grew up around rich people, and you're like, they're miserable. They're miserable. And you see the kids that grew up with that wealth, and they're like, you're not living that great of a life. Anyway, let's go back to founder-led growth. So, I want to talk about it in two different ways. So on the brand side and on SaaS and agency side, right? In B2B and B2C. I think that on the D2C side, it is an essential to have founder-led growth. Now, there's a couple of reasons why. I actually think that it's the millennials that are pushing it, right? The millennials love authenticity. Now, they love authenticity, but really nicely curated authenticity. Right? Not in the same way that Gen Z loves authenticity, right? Which is like I like to call ugly authenticity, right? Or like purposefully bad authenticity. It's like, I remember working with this guy on TikTok, and he was showing us some example videos, and he was showing ones that went viral, and it was for the slushy cup. And he was like, yeah, like, look how I can make things go viral. And he was showing this video of a slushy cup, and the slushy, it went around here, but inside the slushy, there was a hair. And I was like, that's disgusting. And of course, this is why the video went viral, because you put a hair in it, and it just evoked some like disgust from people. So I think that that's not what I'm talking about. I think that's not the kind of authenticity that I'm talking about, because that's not actually authenticity, right? So founder-led growth is so important because people buy and follow people that they respect, right? That are authentic, that have leadership type of qualities, right? They love following those people. And I think that it's really important to get out there for founders. You know, I had the founder of an up and coming Irish whiskey company on my podcast the other day. And he reached out to me because he's doing a podcast tour right now of the top, apparently we're in the top 1% of podcasts in North America. So that's great. He reached out being like, hey, I just want to come and talk to your audience about our Irish whiskey. And I was like, sure, let's go ahead and talk about it, right? How awesome for him to come and talk, and people get to hear his story and hear the thing behind the thing. Like, we all love, like, who here who's listening to this, including you, hasn't read Shoe Dog, right? If there had been a Shoe Dog back when Nike had started, I'll tell you, Nike would have exploded before that if it would have happened in this day and age, because you'd hear his story and you'd just be like, oh my gosh,
it's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's something you can resonate with. Yeah.
Totally. And all the bad things that happen, right? Like in B2B, talking about the bad things that happen is the best. People love rooting for people who actually talk about the bad things. Right. So like, that's another thing in, you know, if anyone in B2B is listening to this, like you're going to endear people so much more. Like creating a good quote here is like, create fans, not followers, right? You want to create people who really love you and whatever this brand that you're building is, whether it's a personal brand, right, that you're building up to then go in and potentially sell other things or be able to like offer different things to the environment, right? So if people go the influencer route first, I think you can kind of do it together. Right. And you can build things off of your personal brand. In B2B, I've been doing this for a long time, right? Like, oh, I'll build this agency over here. I'll build this consulting thing. I'll buy these brands. I'll do these things because it's the founder, right? People are following the founder, and leadership is super important. So anyway, ramble. There you go.
Yeah, sure. I mean, founders, I think most of them have some difficulties, you know, standing out there, and, you know, they need some training how to start. You know, anyone has its sweet spot, right? So are you more comfortable in front of a camera? Are you comfortable in, you know, writing? on blogging, you're more comfortable going on podcast, but you have all these amazing tools that you can do today. I mean, these are like fundamentals for everything that you do. And obviously, if you start with advertising, I mean, having this organic effort benefits a lot, right? So that's
massively.
Yeah, it's massively, and having this earned, owned type of balance is so important, right? So yeah, and, so I want to talk to you about the exit side of things, right? Because there are not too many exits right now, and obviously we talked about exit before. So exit is all about proving to the potential acquirer, that growth can be sustained, right? That you're already proving product market fit. There's a growth there, or a diversity of channels. How do you see? I mean, we saw that valuation that went crazy a few years ago for brands and definitely for tech companies. What are your thoughts in terms of brand valuation? What's important for founders to figure out? Because I believe that anyone should start with some kind of a North Star or some kind of a list of potential acquirers, just to provide some direction where the company is going, right? How do you see this M&A industry, lately?
Yeah. So in brand world, it's very, very difficult right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would not put your company up for sale right now unless you're just done and you want to move on. So number one has to be positive EBITDA, and positive EBITDA in a huge way, right? If you're under $1 million in EBITDA, just good luck. Like you're going to get maybe 2.5x right now.
Yeah.
Like maybe. And so that's about as good as you're going to get, which I mean, for someone that could be great. So you're doing 500,000 in EBITDA. And again, most of the people in that space actually are not going to be EBITDA. They're going to be seller's discretionary earning, SDE, right? So again, that's going to be maybe you'll get 2.5 of that, maybe.
Yeah.
And so my recommendation right now for brands that are doing less than, let's say 2 million of EBITDA, my recommendation is that you set up a management structure that can go without you, right? That the company can continue on without you. The reason being that no one wants to buy a company that is dependent on the founder. Now, not dependent on the founder from like an organic social standpoint, because that you can continue. You could have a contract, you could do something like that.
Sure.
It's really that the founder is the one that's actually pulling the entire company behind them, right? Mm-hmm. Right now at our agency, we're I don't even know how many employees, 30-ish employees right now. It's, to me, anyone out there, we're not acquirable right now because I am pulling the team, right? That is not the way that it should be, right? That is not the way that it should be. And somebody's not going to acquire your company if you are the one that is really at the forefront of all of it. So you do need to build some sort of management structure. It doesn't need to be massive. Again, e-commerce brands don't have to have huge amounts of operating expenses, specifically in labor. But that's a huge thing I look at. Another thing, and I saw somebody, I think it was on Twitter or LinkedIn or something this morning, talking about, what they look at when they're buying companies. For me, average order value has to be above $70 US. Number two, gross margins need to be above 75% after a 20% discount. So that's essential.
For physical goods? For physical
goods. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So it has to be. Otherwise, the numbers don't work. I've done this long enough. The numbers just don't work. And so I don't even look at companies like that. I looked at a sweet company the other day, really great, had some really cool licensing deals, and was just like definitely had the cool factor. Right away, I was like, oh, I want to buy this company. Oh, I love this idea. And then I looked and their gross margins were 40%. And I was like, why would I'm not even going to look any further into this. This is impossible. I'd have to cut their product costs by like 50% to even make it like, maybe I want to do this. Right. So that's one big thing. So you need to also then go and look and see, how is this going to plug into another company? Right. So beauty is a really good example, right? If you're in the sort of like natural beauty side of things, or you have some sort of, most people in beauty are really good at finding that little niche, right? Find that and then think, who's going to buy us? Who would want to buy us that's upstream? And generally, you'll actually start acting a little bit differently because you'll be like, oh, we actually do need to differentiate. We're not just going to try and steal market share from this person because we actually want this person to buy us, right? Those are some of the thoughts that start to go through my mind.
Yes. I see a lot of investment bankers these days. They don't see a deal, but they see some interesting company. Like you mentioned, it requires probably improvement in profitability. So they go there probably as a consulting opportunity. Just be with the company for 1 year, 2 years, just to establish all the right processes, as you said, management, processes, growth, like operational efficiencies, and just build the companies to be ready for transaction. For exit transactions. So just being involved with these companies along the way, that's important. Also, I think diversification of channels, right? If you're successful only on Amazon or only because of those meta ads, that's a risk, right? You need to prove that you can grow multi-channel, and you can grow also from organic, and you have an established newsletter subscribers that are working with you on email marketing, and the retention is working very, very good. So yeah, obviously so many factors that are very important. So Jordan, tell us about the agency. What the agency is all about, and what type of services that you provide?
Good question. So agency has been around for about 6 years now. We predominantly service brands really looking for some sort of growth in a lot of different ways. We tend to get a lot of brands. I don't know if you can see behind me here, agencies suck. A lot of brands have had really bad experiences in this sort of 2018 till now era. The reason being is that a lot of brands were like, hey, I need someone to help me out with ads and growth. Absolutely. Of course you do. Mm-hmm. The problem is the barrier to entry for agencies was so low that anyone could start an agency, right? They could start with themselves and one other person and just be like, hey, I'm going to do your ads, right? And It was so easy to do ads back in the day, right? Like anyone you could chuck anything up and Facebook would find you customers. It's not that easy anymore. It's really not that easy anymore. And we have to go back to marketing principles, and we have to be professionals, right, when it comes to this. And so what has happened is there's been this mass drop-off of agencies, right? A huge drop-off of agencies. And who is left now are the ones that are actually performing. And so we fit into that camp on both the performance side as well as the social commerce side. And it's really been very fun the last couple of years to be in this environment now where you are trusted by brands. And working with brands, as low as $5 million a year up until $1 billion brands, and really having that kind of relationship with them there. I remember I looked up to Taylor Holiday at Common Thread Collective, and I was just like, man, if I could ever be anywhere close to there. Mm-hmm. And now, and I still consider Taylor much ahead of me, but we've been on each other's podcasts. We talk. I consider him really a giant in the space, and yet I still feel like we're on our way to being trusted in that same sort of way. So, so that's a little bit about the agency. Social commerce is what we're going absolutely all in on. YouTube shopping, TikTok shop, all of these channels that I really think drive the halo effect of everything else. We're using some pretty cool tools. Prescient AI is one of them. Prescient. Really cool tool out there right now that's measuring these halo effects for brands spending $100K plus right now. That we're just leaning into this mixed media mix marketing algorithms, right? To look and see like, oh, actually, when we're on TikTok Shop, it actually produced an extra 3 million of revenue on Amazon that we didn't realize. Those are the kinds of things we're looking at all the time, and that brands aren't really thinking about, right? Because you're thinking about your product, you're thinking about your customer. So that's where we come in.
Nice. I interviewed like a furniture brand in the US, and I asked him, what's your best channels right now? So she said, TikTok. I said, sorry? It's a furniture brand, right? So what do you mean? Usually you're thinking about some small product you can show like quick transformation, cosmetics or whatever, maybe product less than $100. These are like the parameters. She said, no, we are not selling anything on TikTok, but we can attribute the majority of our growth to our TikTok activities. We can attribute to the TikTok activity. So that was like a fascinating statement that actually showed all these effects, right? The TikTok effect or the TikTokification of things, how it influences so many things that you do, right? So it's really, really, really interesting. Great, Jordan. What else? What's next for the e-commerce industry? What are you optimistic? How do you see the growth in the market?
I think that we're almost at the end of the e-com winter right now. There's still massive growth. There's still absolutely massive growth. I think that there's going to be still a reckoning now with some of the lagging indicators. I think that any of the funding providers, but most of the funding providers that are out there are done anyway, because they realized that now their models just didn't work. They weren't win-win, right? Shopify, I think, is going to be the last to come to this reckoning. And I will bet you that we're going to see Shopify be like, we're going to have to rethink our capital. I'll tell you, the amount of people that I know personally that have just dropped Shopify capital loans in either a bankruptcy or a restructuring is insane. Wow. Millions upon millions of dollars that I can just think of in my network. And so I can't imagine what that spread is going to be across. Like that, there's some scary stuff out there for that. Wow. What we're going to see is lean and mean companies that are only going to be investing in things that they can actually have an ROI. I think that we're also going to see, and here's a hot take for you. I think that companies like Triple Whale and Northbeam are going to die. Their pixel is going to die because it never really helped anyway. And companies like Prescient and ones that are actually looking at the bigger sort of impact of things are the ones that are going to take off because they actually are helping. Versus, I have only ever seen people make bad decisions based on Triple Whale and Northbeam. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Only ever bad decisions. So that's a bit of a hot take there. Don't tell them I said that, okay?
Yeah, sure. So you're referring to more of the holistic marketing, right? I mean, just looking over all the different channels, this halo effect between those different spheres out there, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And I don't think we're going to see brands being able to survive without being on Amazon. I think that Amazon is unfortunate. Amazon can continue to raise their rates because they are a necessity for brands to be on. And then social commerce. I think social commerce will take over in the next 5 to 10 years. My dream of upGrowth is that we are the leaders in social commerce, right? Now we understand, and our team understands this massive growth that is going to happen on social commerce. We already know it's coming. Just look to Asia. They're always 3 or 4 years ahead of us. There are like literally factories, warehouses full of people doing live shopping there. I actually looked into it for LA last week. Yeah. I did all the math on creating an entire warehouse full of people. And as a Canadian, I don't if anyone knows this or not, or I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but if I say I live streamed from where I am here, even with a VPN and with a SIM card in the States, it still isn't going to get the same reach as it is if I live stream out of LA. Yeah. And so you just go where the people are, right? So you either go LA or New York. Most of the amazing influencers are in LA. So anyway, that's the stuff that's to come right now.
Sure. I just came from Asia and we have like strong customers there. And I've been with one of our partners. They have like, I think 30 different live shopping rooms, probably like 500 people just on that specific business. And what's interesting in Asia is most of the companies are not on their brand.com domain. They are on Lazada, Shopee, Facebook, TikTok, obviously very, very powerful there. So that's the only way that they know that they can sell. I mean, social commerce is the first thing that you do, right? And definitely in the US now, because it's becoming so difficult to bring new customers to your Shopify or to your e-commerce platform, then why not selling where they already are, right? So just you're one click away from this endless scrolling, and then let everything else be Halo. Right? Like let your brand be the halo effect afterwards. Do all the work to acquire them really cheaply through social, right? Acquire them through social commerce because you're going to make money on the first sale on social commerce right now. And you will for a long time. Like when Meta puts it out, just remember that's like an extra 3 billion people that are going to be on, that you're going to be able to reach right through social commerce. So like, it's going to be phenomenal for millennial brands. I will tell you when that comes around and we are ready. I am like every day, just like, okay, when's it coming? When's it coming? Yeah. Timing is everything. Right. So Jordan, how people can find you and the agency? Yeah. Just, you can follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. Those are the best places to follow me. And then upgrowthcommerce.com is the agency. But if you just search up Jordan West Marketer, that's how I show up on LinkedIn, and you can follow me there. Amazing. Jordan, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, this is great. Thanks for having me. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Your support means the world to us. If today's episode has been insightful for you, consider sharing it with someone who would also benefit. Even one share can make a big difference. Looking to elevate your e-commerce game? Discover Vimy, a multi-channel e-commerce platform that will transform your business with the power of shoppable video. Visit us at vimy.net to learn more. It's Vimy, VIMMI.net. Thank you for being part of our journey. Stay tuned for more invaluable insights in our next episode.